And as we come forth, we ask that you open up your hearts and minds as we open up the way. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Ya Allah abnu heru makunet heru. Ya Allah abhed heru. Ya Allah ma'at heru. Ya Allah hotep heru. Ya Allah heru. Ya Allah ma'at herakuti. Ya Allah ahwajeta duty. Ya Allah per im sutek per im haru. Ya Allah by my duty. Allah Hajjat Shepis Rab to Ali. I mean. Halayas, Halayas, Halayas. And that is the same Moorish kin in transliteration. O Allah, the Father of the universe. O Allah, the Father of love. O Allah, the Spirit of truth. O Allah, the Spirit of peace. O Allah, the Spirit of freedom. O Allah, the Spirit of justice. O Allah, you are my protector. O Allah, you are my guide. O Allah, you are my salvation by night and by day. O Allah, through your holy prophet. O Allah, Drew Ali. Amen. Holy Issa, Holy Issa, Holy Issa. Islam, Moorish kin. And now we come forth before you with the divine constitution of Moorish America. Salvation, our God, unity. The 7 supreme constitutional acts of law. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of Moorish America empower to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Moorish America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs, if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. The Bylaws, Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly, according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you're part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slave holders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a parcel of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you're entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, peace and blessings be upon him, founding father and framer of the divine constitution and bylaws of Moorish America. And now that this meeting has been opened according to the triune Acts 1, 2, and 3 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, we say Islam, Islam, Islamism. The providence of Allah is ever all his works. He ruleth and directeth with infinite wisdom. He hath instituted laws for the government of the world. He hath wonderfully varied them in all beings, and each by his nature conformeth to his will. Peace and love.
Muted. Islam. And Divine Minister Dr. Marvin L. State, Consul General of the Texas Consul of the Moorish American Government. Rising, I give all praise to the great God Allah, the Father of the universe. And I give highest honors to his prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give highest honors to my Moorish American government, our Act 1, and all of our officials of the Moorish American government. I give high honors to everything that's Moorish, the land, our inside, the citizenry, supporters, and sympathizers. I will be reading the chapter of the week, chapter 28 of the Holy Quran. Yahushua will pass the second brotherhood test, justice. The logo did not care to rest. He said, why wait in this luxurious room? I need not rest. My father's work upon me touches hard. I will go on and learn my lessons all. If there are trials, let them come. For every victory over self gives added strength. And then the guide led on. And in a chamber dark as night was Jehoshua placed and left alone. And days were spent in this deep solitude. And Jehoshua slept. And in dead of the night, the secret door was open. And in priest attire, two men came in, each carrying in his hand a little flickering lamp. Approaching Yehoshua, one spoke out and said, young man, our hearts are grieved because of what you suffer in these fearful days. And we have come as friends to bring you light and show the way to the we, once like you, were in the and confined and thought that through these weird, uncanny ways we could attain to effectiveness and power. But in a restful moment, we were undeceived and making use of our strength. We broke our chains, and then we learned that all this service is corruption in disguise. These priests are criminals, just hid away. They boast of sacrificial rights. They offer to their gods and burn them while alive, poor birds and beasts. You children, women and men. And now they keep you here, and at a certain time they offer you in sacrifice. We pray you, brother, break your chains. Come go with us. Accept a freedom while you may. And your host will say, your little tapers show the little light we bring. Pray, who are you? Words of men are worth no more than is the man himself. These temple walls are strong and high. How gain you entrance into this place? The men replied, beneath these walls are hidden ways, and we who have been priests spent months and years within these dens and know all of them. Then you are traitors, Jehoshua said. A traitor is a friend who betrays another man, and never man to trust. If one has only reached the plane of treachery, he is a lover of deceit and will betray a friend to save himself himself. Behold, you men, or whatsoever you be, Your words fall lightly on my ear. Could I prejudge these 100 priests, turn traitor to myself and them because of what you say? When you confess your treachery, no man can judge for me. If I judge before testimony all is in, I might not judge right. Nay, men, by whatsoever way you came, return. My soul prefers the darkness of the grave to the flickering light, like these you bring. My conscience rule, Father. What these, my brothers, have to say, I won't hear. And when the testimony all is in, I will decide. You cannot judge for me, nor I for you. Be gone, men, be gone, and leave to me this charming light. For while the sun shines not, within my soul there is a light surpassing that of sun and moon. Then, with an angry threat, they would do harm. The vile tempters left, and Yehoshua was alone. Again, the white-robed priest appeared and led the way, and Yehoshua stood again before the hierophant, and not a word was said. But in his hand, the master placed a scroll on which the word justice was inscribed. And Yehoshua was the master of the phantom form of prejudice and of treachery. Islam. And I'm Dr. Marvin Evans Day. Today's date is August 15, 2022. We give honor to our National Assistant Grand Chief for opening us up according to law. Honor to Dr. Marvin Evans Day for reading of the chapter of the week and taking registration. We want to welcome everyone to our more sustained class, sponsored by our Word of Miracle Golden. Our host for tonight's conference call is our National Assistant Grand Chief Dr. Jedu Mickey L. Mohetti Septuel. So we want to bring our host on for tonight, our National Assistant Grand Chief. Godman, you there? It's up.
Unmuted.
Islam, can you hear me, brother?
I hear you loud and clear. You got the floor. Islam.
Yes, sir. Gratitude. Islamism. Well, having already risen upon the seven, we continue to rise in ascension, giving praises to the great God Allah and our Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything, and I do mean everything, that our holy prophet brought to make us a nation. I want to give honors to all of our Moorish kin that is on the manifest, showing up again. You know, all of those of you who are here to support, you know, your Moorish American government, Islam. And I want to give honors to our family out here. I also sent the stream to our family, Sister Kurta Bay, if you will. You may have to reconnect your apparatus. You know, it says devices are not connected in order to get in. You know, and also want to give honors to those who are live with us on Facebook and YouTube and so forth and so on, tuning into the live stream. Our family, Volta, Divinely Black, Peace Committed, brother, we want to give honors to you as well, family. Praise be to Allah. Both of y'all that have shown up, and, you know, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And also share this link, you know, invite others so that they may come forth as well. This is a powerful drawing right here. This will be a grand drawing by the time, everything else is said and done as well. Minus doubt or contradiction. We can promise you that. Our family will have a lot of clarity by the time we get done with this subject matter tonight, which deals with if the temple walls of ancient Kemet, i.e., perfected man, was strong and high, how gained the HEKA-KASUT, the lower self, entry into this place? Again, if the temple walls of ancient Kemet, perfected man, was strong and high, how gained the HEKA-KASUT, i.e., the lower self, entry into this place? Now, everything that is being demonstrated, we already know. We are most definitely giving it to our family as it is above, so it is below, as it is within, so it is without. So we are always tuning in, so to speak, to the higher self when it comes to going within oneself and building the temple. We got a lot to bring on the manifest tonight, Morris Ken. As always, everything that we bring is from a high level of unfoldment, but these things are very important, for us to have a clear conception of the work that we are called to do and what it means to truly be, builders of the temples of perfection. You see, unbeknownst to many of our people, they have been taught that when it comes down to building a structure, especially one that's worthwhile, it always have to do with somewhere where they're going to live at, and especially if you get caught up in the degrees of focusing solely on food, clothing, and shelter. So many different structures, man has come up with and built, throughout the years, so to speak, many different abodes, if you will, of the dwelling places that men have built throughout the climes and the times. And they have become even more elaborate with their building. They have begun to build skyscrapers all the way, as close as they can be to the heavens, so to speak. I think man at one time, according to history, was said to get in trouble for that already. That's a whole nother story. But when we go into the essence of what it is that we are demonstrating here tonight in our Moorish perspectives, this will bring clarity to what we speak of when we talk about that work that we are all called to do when it comes to being about the work of our Father God Allah. And it has to do with what life is spent to build according to the teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And according to his teachings, we are told that life is spent to build a temple of perfected man. So being that this is so, there's enough work for all of us to do. There's never a time when it comes to this special work that there's a drought in the work. There's never another measure of time where one deal with having to be laid off. There's never a particular time where there's just a lack or inactivity going on to where we won't be working on this special temple. And there are certain characteristics about this temple that lets you know that it's most definitely not just some building that's being constructed for the use of physical activity. But this is actually a building, again, as we pointed out in our previous measure, that is being constructed, and even the Piscean records bear witness to this, being constructed without the sound of any earthly or carnal tools. You can't hear the banging of the hammer. You can't hear the sound of the saw. None of those things when it comes to dealing with this special temple. In fact, those tools are very irrelevant when it comes to build this temple that we're talking about. The temple of perfection, the temple of perfected man. Try hitting yourself in the head with a hammer and see how good that's going to work. when it comes to building the temple of perfected man. You might not be able to participate in the process. You ain't got to worry about dealing with no type of, what they like to call workers' comp from that demonstration, because you hit yourself hard enough, you might transcend the body. So we know the physical hammer has nothing to do with building the temple of perfected man. But we know that the spiritual hammer is always utilized to pound in the truth and make it a part of every special part of oneself, of the character, until one becomes what it is, again, that life was spent to build. And the same thing can be said about every other tool that is utilized within the workshop of the mind. Well, thought, as we are told, are used to build what? Character. This is very important that we have this in mind, Moorish kin. And our holy prophet gave us grand instructions when it came to being able to utilize these tools. This ain't just something that sounds good or something that's philosophical. These are actual facts that if we are able to apply these instruments when it comes to dealing with self-mastery, well, let's just say we can free ourselves in many ways. And we ain't got to constantly go back over and over again to try to make sure we got it right, because we'll have it right from the onset. Praise be to Allah. No doubt about that, Moorish kin. So we definitely want to make sure that our Moorish kin is in tune with us tonight. And we encourage our family to have their paper and their pen on handy, because we are, again, going down through there and up through there, so to speak. And we encourage our Moorish kin to most definitely be on point and follow us as we go into this special drawing. So praise be to Allah. Allah is due to praise. We were speaking on the use of these tools when it comes to building the temple of perfected man. Where the prophet spoke on using these tools within the workshop of the mind. We spoke on the hammer. The prophet told us, he said, well, we use, these tools for particular functions. For example, we use the square to measure our lines and straighten out the crooked places of the way and make the corners of our conduct square. That ain't got nothing to do with building a building. We use the compass to draw the circles around our passions and desires to keep them within the bounds of righteousness. That ain't got nothing to do with a building. We use the axe, and the scimitar comes from the lineage of the axe, since we mentioned that, to cut away the knotty, useless, ungainly parts and make the character symmetrical. Symmetrical with what? The truth. Notice it say the knotty, useless, or ungainly part. Now, some people would think this got something to do with a knotty board or whatever, that something that cannot be fitted properly in a physical structure. But what about the knotty ways? What about the knotty acts and the knotty deeds? See, all of these things are ungainly when it comes to dealing with making the character symmetrical. So we got to get rid of that. So we use our scimitar of consciousness coming through the line of the axe to cut away that behavior, to cut away that type of thought pattern. You see? And again, we already spoke on how we use the hammer, driving home that truth and pounding it into as a part of every part of what? The character. So we can see that the theme is that these instruments or these tools, as Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought them back to us, are used for character building. He said we use the plane to smooth the rough, uneven surface of joint and block and board to go up to build a temple of the truth. He said we use the chisel, the line, the plummet, and the saw, and all have their uses in the workshop of the mind, right? And then he stated this ladder with this trinity of steps, faith, hope, and love. He said, on it, we climb up to the dome of purity in life. Want to emphasize that dome of purity in life. That's the real kingdom. The dome right there above your neck. So you got to climb up to the dome of perfection because it's in there now. I don't care how much someone taught you to think dirty, how they done taught you to act dirty, you know, but that's not your nature. Your nature is to be one with the great God. You see? And then last but not least, you can't get up into that dome of purity without that 12-step ladder. And he tell you that on it we ascend until we reach the pinnacle of life of that which is spent to build the temple of perfected man. Now, I don't know about nobody else, but when we go into our Moorish Holy Quran, and Yehoshua was found ascending that same ladder, being about his father's work, he had 3 tools with him. He had the square, the axe, and the compass. In other words, he had a scimitar on the manifest, but he was climbing up the ladder. You see, so he was going to do some work, you know, in a higher area of perfection. And he had to make sure he had them tools with him because he knew that he was going to have to utilize these same tools, even though he had mastered much, you know, beneath where he had to climb into the heights. He still had to have those same tools, the first 3, so to speak. He kept them with him at all times, you know, so this is very key when we come into the aspect of basically building self up. You know, this corresponds with understanding also, if we have any knowledge of it, the 42 paths of Moorish wisdom that we often teach about. Because we understand at this special level, in order for us to understand these levels of the knowledge in these lessons, we have to be able to place ourselves within them and become the living, the walking, the breathing, the talking, circle 7. Everything our holy prophet did, we too must do. The garb that he dressed in, we must don the same garb. The head, from the headdress to the body garbs. You see? So this is a very powerful demonstration. So what I want to do right now, let me add our family to the there we go. We're gonna add our family here. Peace and love to the Moors as well. And we're gonna go further. Want to give honors to our beloved brother Capricorn Magi, Marquise Artique, Noble Brian, Marquise L. Honors to all of you family as well. So let me present this screen to our family. So we got some powerful measures to bring on the manifest tonight, family. Make sure I get y'all in here. Okay, let's see. Okay, we shared. Let's see, I want to make sure I'm sharing the right screen though. All right, here we go. All right, we're going to share the entire screen because we got a few areas we're going to go into. For those who don't know, are not familiar, the 42 Paths of Moorish Wisdom is a chart that actually has to do with pretty much a blueprint to deal with building the self and how one utilizes the same tools that we spoke of earlier. It's very important that we have this knowledge because we're talking about going within. And this will give one a better way of comprehending that this is a measure going within. So in the 42 Paths of Moorish Wisdom, and you will understand why they are called the 42 Paths by the time that we are done. We speak of the tools, but we speak of the tools in the realm of thought activity. You know, for example, if you look to the height of this particular expression, you will see our grand national seal, you will see Allah there. And you will see our holy prophet, you know, also right beneath the seal. You would also see the 12-step ladder, which means the prophet himself had ascended into the heights of being one with the great God Allah, and he is presently working from the plane of soul. aiding us, in building this special temple of perfection. All this has to do with, again, as it is above, so it is below, as it is within, so it is without. So we're talking about building a spiritual temple that reflects the macrocosm, as this is manifested in the macrocosm before it became a microcosmic expression. And so we're talking about not only dealing with the self and self-mastery, but we're also going to deal with the national side of our movement, in this special drawing as well, because all of this also corresponds with this same knowledge of building a particular structure. So let us start with the next measure. If we come to the left, in the far corner, you will see where it states Grand National Chairman. And then it says the plane. Now we know why we use the plane, dealing with the uneven surfaces and making things, crooked. All these, we know what we're dealing with. But this plane corresponds to the chairman, not only in his work on the plane of things made manifest, but also the chairman within you, that if you are in a state of obeying the high dictates of life, they too are in conjunction, with the chairman and your understanding of what it means to, obey Act 1, so to speak. You see, in all actuality, it has to do with what is above your neck. Even if you were to go into the 7 days of creation, we know the first act of creation, the great God Allah is on the manifest. His law is on the manifest. And so it's the same when we deal with Act 1 in our divine constitution. But nevertheless, there's a grand national chairman within you. And if you are not willing to listen to that chairman that is within you, then we know you ain't going to listen to the chairman outside of the self. You see, and the same thing has to do with our national grand sheik, whom we honor on the plane of things made manifest, just as we honor our chairman on the plane of things made manifest. There's also a national grand sheik within you, because all of these are thoughts of divinity outside of just being people or persons on the plane of things made manifest. In other words, we're trying to get you to listen to your higher thoughts. Because if we can basically instruct the mind with divine instructions to listen to the higher thought, then it will be easier for one to be able to follow the instructions by one given outside of them. And though we are mentioning these stations as principles right now of action and thought activity, make no mistake about it, again, this is being demonstrated on the plane of things made manifest. Remember, as it is above, so it is below, as it is within, so it is without. But when you go into the metaphysics of this, what you understand also is the golden cord that link these particular functions of the chairman, the sheik, the assistant grand sheik, the prophet, and the grand body, all are tied by a golden cord of love, that most trustworthy handhold that never breaks. You see? So we will never allow falsehood or truth and falsehood strangely mixed to breach this special temple of perfection. We'll never allow that to take place, or one to break rank, so to speak. Not if you are in a higher state of consciousness. Because what we see is that these stations, if we put them in the context of principles within ourselves, then we can respect them even more, because it has to do with ourselves. Then we understand the connection between the station as we acknowledge it within us and how we are seeing it manifested outside of us. In other words, we understand that through theocracy, the great God Allah is speaking to man through man. You see? And all of this has to do with building now, nation building, all of that, temple building, nation building. That's what we're talking about, divine and national side of the movement. The divine aspect has to do with the building of the temple of perfected man. The national side has to do with nation building. You see? We ain't gonna build one without the other. We gonna take the middle course and we gonna build both of them simultaneously. You see? So again, that's why we say obey. And I always like to emphasize that obey demonstration ain't got nothing to do with you listening to someone because they say, if you don't do this, I'm gonna do that. If you don't do this right here, then I'm gonna do that there to you, and I'm gonna punish you, and you know, all that other foolishness. You see, that ain't what we're talking about. Obey simply has to do with, again, obeying the high dictates of life. You gotta listen to your God self, family. You gotta listen to that silent voice of God that speaks within, because this is the truth. This is the true, supreme builder, so to speak. And it personifies through these particular stations. And it has all to do with, depending on when you are working with a particular tool or a function that need to be demonstrated. You see, so when you honor that plane within you, you honor the chairman within you, honor that 3-step ladder within you, you honor that grand sheik within you. And so when we go on down, because we like to come from the heights and come all the way into the manifest with this demonstration, and then we can see exactly what takes place. We can see that the assistant national grand sheik is represented by the hammer, constantly pounding in that truth, making a part of every part. Have you ever studied something before, Morris Ken, and you see, after you have become fully conscious and aware, that you begin to see that same lesson no matter where you go? You might see it in books, you may see it in a movie, you may see it in an example that has taken place on the plane of things made manifest. If you have, then you are dealing with the hammer of repetition from that standpoint. You see what I'm saying? This same lesson is being pounded in so that it becomes a part of your character. So much so that you don't have to train the self or somebody train you or make you do anything, but it becomes naturally a part of your character. You see? So, dealing with this same measure, we have over here what we call the plummet. And we can see it coming down the plumb line, plumb bob, coming from the scale, hanging from the feather of Ma'at. This is the instrument used to weigh the heart against the feather. And no matter how much you may think that a physical heart must be heavier than a feather, the heart should never outweigh the feather of truth and right. Because if it does, then this means that there's some dirt in the heart. There's some darkness in the heart. You see? This is synonymous with the national secretary, of Moorish America, but also going within the self. We can also see how these things are actually functions that are dealing with, we can say a cohesion, so to speak. This same energy coming forth many times powerful at different degrees within oneself. So it's the same spirit that's using these different channels that I'm mentioning to you now, so that you may be able to utilize them when it comes to dealing with unfolding into your wisdom. Right? And we have the National Grand Mufti, as we can see a symbol there of the scimitar, in the star, our flag, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, representing that axe. And it's not strange that when you utilize the term axe, you think about, from the A in the X or AXE, you also go into the aspect of ACT. And that's the duty of the Mufti, to make sure that our people are governed according to the 7 acts of our divine constitution. Well, there's a grand Mufti that exists within yourself and empowers you by keeping you in line with the divinity of the higher self. As you see it, you see that scimitar and star, the star representation of man who is embodying the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And the justice represents the consciousness that is sheathed into the soul or the head of man, so to speak. And it is here where man is able to operate his actions of soul, which are thinking, reasoning, willing, understanding, remembrance. And through these acts, he is able to cut away the useless, the ungainly, the naughty parts of his being. That's that national grand mufti within the self that's working on one, right? And then you have your assistant national grand mufti, personifying in principle as the square. You see, aiding and assisting where one is keeping the conduct square. But yet and still, this is a thought that has manifested as a principle and a tool or instrument within the self, where one is able to utilize this tool for character building, keeping the conduct on point. When something happened, have you ever noticed that you say, man, I know good and well I ain't supposed to be in this situation right here. I know better than this. I will not allow myself to be bound down many times over and over again, to the same lesson. I'm going to get a lesson, but I'm going to get a blessing from this demonstration because I'm going to pull up and come up out of that situation. You see? Then you have also the compass, which is synonymous actually with the silent brotherhood of swift angels. So all of your Moorish kin on the manifest, just as they may be strengthening you, inspiring you, driving you and motivating you to stay within the circle of the angels. This thought pattern has to be fixated above the neck in our chambers of understanding, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? This is where your silent brotherhood of swift angels are metaphysically. That's why I say angels are thoughts of Allah manifested in the flesh. What do you think they manifest? They are manifested right there above the neck. If you have good thoughts, they're angelic thoughts. If you have bad thoughts, then there's your devil. It's simple. But nevertheless, that if you're looking at the band of swift angels, that circle of swift angels, then this is the compass that is used to basically, allow one to pivot within the law, where one has that of what in the Piscean records is referred to as a hedge of protection. You see, it has to do with the angles in reference to the angel. See, this is divine geometry. This is sacred geometry that we're talking about here, right? Islam. And nevertheless, even the divine minister, and all of us are divine ministers, there's a use, because that divine minister actually represents that line, that golden cord. All of us come through with means of unfolding from the chemistry into the ministry, and also understanding what was once a mystery. These are the three levels of unfoldment that has to do with all of us, but yet and still that line of divinity uniting divinity and matter. That line that is uniting us within the divinity of the matter. See, that's holy breath, that's spirit. We're talking about the breath line. You see, the spiritual lineage of us coming to the manifest and being able to trace ourselves back to the source, which is being one with the great God, the causeless cause, the rootless root, the holy foundation. You see, all of us have this opportunity as ministers, and this is where the salvation comes from. This is why we understand, even when you deal with that crescent and moon, it has to do with the number 9, because we know our degrees of unfoldment always come from 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, which we can see it all up in this particular chart that we have. You see, oneness dealing with the oneness of God, 3 dealing with the triune law, wisdom, will, and love, 3-step ladder, and everything else that comes from above, from on high, because wisdom speaks from out of the highest plane of spirit life. The 5 dealing with the self, a mastery over the senses, instead of dealing with a government of selfishness. A government of self has to do with a mastery over a properly established and well-built nation and government. All of this has to do with having one's mind right. So this is a measure for the individual work to be done when you look at this blueprint. And last but not least, we have also the national treasurer of Moorish America. None of these particular functions or stations are higher or more exalted, in the aspects of dealing with comparison. All of them represent the same principle, working through different stations in order to build us up, in order to protect us as a nation, in order to minister to us as a nation. Spirit is what I mean when I say minister to us. We have to be able to hear, but that national treasurer of Moorish America has to do with all of the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding that the great God Allah has deposited within this vessel that we call flesh. That's why we say the gifts of the understanding are of the treasures of Allah, Islam. And this is where we find the use for the chisel and the saw and so forth and so on, because we are using the wisdom now to be able to chisel those things away that are basically have no need. Also being able to chisel the truth within our hearts and minds. Saw off those things that is unworthy or worthless, so to speak. But if we chisel away long enough and we dig beneath those rocky soils, then surely we will find, that treasure that has always been present, within us, above the neck. If we go beneath the rocky soil of our NBC thought pattern that we had, that Negro, black, and colored thought pattern with them, then surely we will find many treasures there. This is why we say our gross national product is wisdom. This is why we know that we are dealing with generational wealth. That's true generational wealth. So having said that, when we understand that, we come out of a state of belief into a state of faith, and out of that state of faith into a state of fruition. So when you go into all of this, you see the 10 stations that are mentioned here, along with, the 7 degrees that take you beyond belief, the 7 that take you beyond faith. And then when you become one in the same being, that 7, that 21 added to that special 10, that's 31. And then when you deal with the 12-step ladder, and you add the 12, to that 31, then you get 43. Only difference is it's 42 paths, and they all lead back to one destination, oneness with the great God. So that third in 43 is really not a path. It's just saying 4 and 7. 4 and 3 is 7, pardon self. So this is how, we utilize these tools within the workshop of the mind, where thought is used to build character. So now that we have this knowledge, I want to go further into some more measures now, because now that we mentioned this, we can actually really go into the grand drawing as it relates to self-mastery. And I got a few measures I'm going to share with our family. I was actually putting a little small measure together. And for those who can view on my screen, if you can look, you will see that I have the halls of Luxor. We spoke of this recently. We're just going more into depth now as to what is really there. In the halls of Luxor, there's an special structure that is constructed. If you look at it from an aerial view, meaning from above it, it's built in the exact shape of what a man represents. Or we can say the human physical expression. It don't have to be a man. It can be the God woman as well. And we can see in this picture different chambers and different rooms within this special structure. For those who had just received, their Egyptian adept degree of temple scribe, high priest, and high priestess, want to give honors to all of our Moorish kin who come through that special demonstration, because they are the only ones that are qualified as scribes of the nation to go into these ancient teachings and teach our people that they may too become scribes as well. You see, they are certified divinely, you see, meretriciously, so to speak. And so in this particular drawing, we find that there's a show of the temple, and it gives many different areas coming through the bottom, the shrine of Thutmose, Abu el Hagag. Actually, it actually starts at the Avenue of the Sphinx and then goes into Ramesses, Colossi, and the obelisk, and then Abu el Hagag, the mosque that they have now in that particular area. Wasn't there? It's a lot of structures that have been rebuilt. A lot of renovation has went on. But nevertheless, still these structures are on the manifest. The Shrine of Thutmose, Ramesses court, and then it has the colonnade, the peristyle court, and as you continue to go up, you have the charioteer reliefs, the hypostyle, the hall of the 8 columns, the hall of theogamy, the holy of holies, and then it has the 12 columns. And you get into the holy of holy area up here, you're talking about the portion that represents the head, and also above that you see the triple sanctuary. We already know the triple sanctuary has to do with, again, the seat of the triune self. You see, this is where that wisdom, will, and love come from. When you talk about the holy of holies, that's right there in the center of your thinking apparatus. The hall of 12 columns have to do with the 12 cranial nerves, by which, the central nervous system is activated. If you damage any of those nerves, then this body gonna have some problems. You see, when it comes to the physical, and it's the same way, though you have 12 cranial nerves, there are also spiritual stations. That number 12 actually has to do with government, rulership over oneself. See, this is what we mean when we say obey. If you obey the high dictates of the life, then those thoughts, those angels, those executive rulers that are above your neck will always remain in conjunction of obedience to the highest expression in your consciousness. It is only when you fall down into the low that these special stations begin to rebel against the constitution of your being and overthrow you if you ain't careful. It's not in the nature of that to do that. But if you believe that someone else is a God outside of yourself, then you will allow them to overthrow that divine constitution of Godhood, God self, God being within you. And the only reason you would do that is because you think that their power extends beyond that of the great God Allah himself. And no true God, man, would ever seize rulership over the self, we'll say, and then give it over to someone else outside of the self, that is of a lower degree of vibration. How did they get in anyway? See, this is what we want to talk about. How did they get up in there? If it's in your nature to be the ruler, if the stations within you are naturally divinely connected to what we call divine theocracy, then how did these lower thoughts of vibration enter the temple? How did they even get past, the obelisk and Ramesses, so to speak, the Colossi, the Ramesu is the proper way of saying it. How did they even get up there? Because that's right down there at the feet. How did they get all the way up in? Who let them in? Oh, man. I want to point out another measure, because just as we have this makeup here, we also have the same makeup with temples in the land of the Indus Kushite Valley civilization, what our people know as India. There's also an expression of the same temple, just built in a different style, but it relates to the body, of perfection. And we can see, the Hinduist temple structure and the structure of the human body in comparison. And we see all different measures coming from the head to the feet the same way, and different measures that have to do with also the chakra system going all the way up to the head. You see, this is powerful. So the thing is, this is what really made our ancestors master builders. They were not only able to build grandiose structures of impregnable, design, so to speak, but they were also able to make sure that they corresponded with the man or the woman themselves, from your head to your feet. This is a master builder, meaning that their structure will be built in such a way that it corresponds with their very constitutional makeup. And then the studies or the teachings that they read were instructions, which basically would give one the ability to properly navigate throughout the structure, a manual in reference to the self that is connected to a temple, and the book that is being made manifest through the guru or the mastermind that comes. He comes with the blueprint. You see? It's a powerful demonstration, family. This is not the only temple, outside of the self this way. Also, you hear him talking about Solomon's temple all the time. Everybody like to talk about Solomon's temple, especially if they know something about the Bible, or they think they're in a lodge, or they think they're a Mason or something. We don't say that with slight, but we already know who the true master builders are. That ain't to go in at nobody or nothing. We just giving you the truth. The master builders always came out of ancient Kemet before any of these other orders and different demonstration were brought on the manifest. That's the truth of the matter. There's a drawing in the Piscean records where we have it before us. It's dealing with Solomon, where he said, or Suleiman, he said that God has said that he would dwell in a cloud, and I have built a magnificent temple for you, a place for you to dwell forever. Now, you think that's talking about God dwelling in the building that was built in the city of Jerusalem? Or is the building but symbolic of the true temple? Because there's also one in the holy city of Mecca known as Masjid al-Haram. Hence Hiram Abiff, right? Haram, right? So all this stuff, which is dealing with a code name of the African God man, tells us that each and every temple that was built in these particular places were based off of the construct of the African God man. Whether you go into Kemet, whether you go into India, whether you go into Jerusalem, whether you go into Mecca, every last one of them, most, if not all of their temples are based off of the structure of the constitution of the master builder themselves, the man, master of Allah's nature. Before we came into the manifest spiritually, Ish and Isha being a real symbol of the square and the compass, really represented the building, of this special body, because they were present. Elohim were present. You see? Our spiritual lineage is what separates us from others, if you know what I mean. Because we were able to receive something that we couldn't give somebody else. And that was a center, if you know what I mean. So when we go into this special drawing, family, we understand, well, Adam and Eve has to do with the physical makeup in relation to the physical body. And this is where you're dealing with the physical expression, or your physical mother and father and so forth and so on. All they were able to do, is give the physical. And it was the act of them coming together in that unity, where they was able to use some powers, of we can say the spiritual square and the compass, because they was able to give you enough of the flesh that you can have some spirit to be there. And that can only come with the great God Allah. So they had to have some God in them in order to, allow this to unfold. So that's the real meaning. If you go into the aspect of dealing with the tools from that standpoint, at least the ones we mentioned. So in this particular expression, what I have here, it shows in the entry point what they refer to as the court of the women. And I wonder why they had that outside. Why the women can't be inside. But nevertheless, the court of the women, then it goes into what they call the court of the Israelites. They have the Nazarites on one side, the sacrificial wood. This would be at the portion that would be a representation of where the feet would be as they are going. And then they go up into the structure, which are the priest quarters. And even the priest quarters have 3 different levels, as we can see here. You see, because they have the entry point, they have a station above that, which we see an outlook, and then we see what is above that, that is called the holy place. You see, it has also, a wall going around it, like the Levites' quarters, Solomon's porch, the court of the priests, the watchtower. All this is up in the highest elevations of the self, so to speak, though, right? There's another measure in here right next to this demonstration. They had what they were speaking of, again, going into the entry. We see that the woman is inside of the court where she was outside of the court on this other particular measure. I wonder why they did that. So, they had 12 steps that they would go up into. Then they had the chamber of the Nazarites this time on the left side and the chamber of the wood on the other side. Then they had the chamber of the oils and the wine, chamber of the lepers. This is outside the temple per se itself. One has not been able to go all the way into that demonstration, especially if they were lepers. But I guess the Nazarites would be in the first or the outer court because they got to do some healing with that oil and that wine, huh? And then beyond that, you had your Israelites and your priests in your hall and your kabesh, your brazen altar, the vestibule, the holy place, the candlestick, and up when you get up to the portion that represents the head, they call it the Holy Holies. Just like Kemet, huh? You see? It even went into the different drawings on each side. You got the entrance gate, the music gate, the women's gate. Then you got the water gate and the heart gate, a hearth gate, pardon self. You got the firstborn gate and the sacrifice gate, the lightning gate and the flame gate, the upper gate, and then they call it the Jeconiah gate. You see, all of this is still dealing with, even though these are physical structures, it has to do with one going within the self. And ain't no priesthood outside of you that's dealing. This is all dealing with oneself. The constitution of the body. Same thing being demonstrated, just like it was in Kemet, just like it was in India, just like it is in Islam, in Islamism. So it should be evident now, as to when our holy prophet came on the manifest and he established the Canaanite temple, and then he came forth and brought forth what would be called the Moorish holy temple of science. It really had to do with yourself. That was the real aspect of it, not just being something dealing with a lawfully chartered organization. And the same thing has to do with when it came into being the Moorish science temple. That means you have to be a scientist of the self. That means you have some work to do, some research in the self. That's why the Prophet Noble Drew Ali told you to know yourself in the Father God Allah. He is the one that is in the elevated station of the Holy of Holies. Same story being told over and over again. It's not strange that all this symbolism is the same. These different points that they have in this same temple that we're talking about here, in the Piscean record, Solomon's temple, it also has 7 different stages of unfoldment in this particular drawing. They say, well, one is the statement of dealing with atonement. That's the first. Then they go into entrance, which is 2. And holiness is 3. Prayer is 4. Access is 5. Fellowship is 6. And eternal life is 7. That's that circle 7 right there. Those who create these charts and demonstrate them may not know that. But yet, when you look at the basic way of coming in, one comes through the gate before what is called again the brazen altar. One goes through the door and they find themselves within a holy place. There's a lampstand here with 7 candles. Our prophet talked about this in our Moorish Holy Quran. There's even a table of shewbread there, they say, right? An altar of incense. We hear about this sacrificial altar within the self where you have to sacrifice all of those things that will keep you away from coming into a higher self, coming into the Holy of Holies, coming into the heights of your divinity. So when you reach beyond this golden veil here, so to speak, you go into the ark veil, the veil of the ark that had been hidden. So when you talk about building a new ark and you realize that it has to do with the temple of perfection, you understand even Noah's ark itself was a structure that was also based upon the body of man as well, if you do the research. But one find themselves within the realm of the Holy of Holies before the mercy seat. Ain't that's what it tells us in our Moorish Holy Quran? All of this is dealing with the self. And notice on the left side here, it says the way, the truth, and the life. It didn't say way, truth, and the light. Nothing wrong with that, but it's letting you know that life is the light. That's why it says in the Piscean records that life is the light of man. You see? So this is a powerful demonstration, family. This is a powerful demonstration. I'm showing you throughout all of these traditions, from Kemet into Kush or India, all the way up into Islam, all of them have the same thing. And you know what I like to say when they go to telling the same story like this right here, family? Everybody can't be lying. That's called consensus of scholarship. Everybody is directing you into the temple of perfected man to study yourself. But if you're too busy worrying about somebody else outside of the self, talking about what their temple look like and how they ain't did what they need to build their temple, then how can you build your own temple of perfection? Somebody must be distracting you. Who you done let get all up in there? Oh, we finna get into that in a second, and we're gonna open up the floor in a minute. We find out, again, like we said, the same story is being told. We can see again, just like we seen in the picture dealing with the Hinduist Kushite expression with their temple a few minutes ago. The body of man lay, horizontally on the back, in the bottom portion of the picture where one is dealing with upright, but in this same measure, we see the same demonstration. Everybody were building their special structures with this same blueprint. They had their own style of making them look a different way, but the core of this temple of perfection has always been the same. We can see the same thing here. One entered through the foot, which is a symbol of the altar, goes into the bronze expression, and go between the pillars. Also it has to do with going from the porch into the holy place and then into the Holy of Holies again. Then they have on this particular drawing the stairway raised to the floor of the Holy Holy, and we see that on 3 levels. The prophet told us that we should have our adept meetings, at the 3rd floor, so to speak, right? So when we go into this special measure, Jacob's pillar stone represents, what is supporting the consciousness of man here. You can see the man laid back and his head is, has a pillar on it. The pillar stone represent what supports you in your consciousness, what supports your understanding, your wisdom, your knowledge, and so forth and so on. Where do you get that support from? It comes from a solid rock of understanding. You say, well, now I ain't gonna be laying my head on no rock. Rock is hard, because it ain't got nothing to do with physically laying your head on a rock. It has to do with your wisdom, your knowledge, understanding, again, being supported from on high. I know our beloved brothers and sisters in the nation of gods and earth used to say, understanding is the best part. They ain't say overstanding, understanding, understanding, none of that. They didn't say none of that. They say understanding. Understanding is the best part. You see? This is a powerful demonstration, Moorish Ken. So we have to have a true knowledge of ourselves and what life is spent to build in the temple of perfection. You know, but when we get into this question that we have, if the temple walls of ancient Kemet in general, perfected man, was strong and high, how gained the HEKA-KASUT a lower self entry into this place? How did they get there? Did I say somebody must have stopped thinking? Did I say that somebody must have let somebody suggest something to them to cause them to lose focus of the work that they were called to do? Did I say that somebody just wasn't listening? And you know what happens when you fall asleep on the job. All type of accidents may occur. All type of mishaps may take place. You see? But we want to know, how were these walls breached? You know, what place did one come through? Was it well fortified? Did some of the people that were working on this special structure, or did the individual working on this special structure leave, let's say, half do the work? They reaped in a scanty way. They didn't do exactly what they were supposed to do. They say, I'm going to just patch this up and make it look done. Because you'll see that in real construction work. Just to pass inspection. You know, and we don't want to be called on it. We don't want to pay the price. You know, we're going to go ahead and put something up here and make it look like it's done right. You see, I even seen a situation where an electrician was so much trying to patch something up, and that one had got my ladder. And you know good well electrician ain't got nothing to do with aluminum ladder. But nevertheless, this one took my ladder. By the time I came back from a lunch break, I'm looking around everywhere, and it's like 100 people in this area. On a federal job, too, so it really ain't, they ain't got no business messing with no metal ladders in the first place. But nevertheless, that one got hit by 480 volts. It don't take but 200 to kill you, or maybe 100 and some will take you out if you ain't careful. But this one got hit, and it knocked him clean up out of the structure, because he was trying to stick some wire up through the box while it was still dark, because the lights were cut off because the people were coming around to do the inspection. But he was trying to connect this thing. This is somebody been doing this all their life now. But they was trying to not be caught up on the inspection. And some people say that one passed for him, some say he didn't, but nevertheless, that one blow could complete out the building. His skin was hanging from his bones. It was so bad. You know, but I'm saying, a lot of time when we try to take shortcuts, we bring more conflict to the cell. Because when I seen the ambulance come out, I say, well, what is that going on? What they up here? You know, man, this one done got hit by electricity. And I'm looking for my ladder, find out I ain't gonna never get that ladder back, because now they done disposed of it and throwed it off the property, because they didn't want nobody to know that he had the ladder. And also, it was somebody that tried to help him, his helper. And that's another thing. When you get involved with trying to build in somebody else's temple, and you get caught up in doing that right there, you can also cause some harm to yourself. So when that one tried to grab that one and push him off the ladder, the electricity hit him, And it came through like what you touching him for. And he got a piece of it too. It came out his bike, they say. But nevertheless, again, that's why we have to tend to our own business. That's why we have to be professional about this work that we call to do. Because we can hurt self. That ain't the only time I done seen somebody get hurt or known of somebody get hurt on a structure, so to speak. You know, we had one that got crushed in a whole buck horse that they take materials up the wall on. And this was at a lunch break. Came back from the lunch break. Y'all, you can't come back. What you mean, man? I run a crew up here. Dude just died up in here. What? On the lunch break? How you die on your lunch break? You know, and it was crazy. All I can say is safety over everything when it comes to that. But I'm saying we have to pay attention to the self. We have to go within the self. Because if we don't and we leave something else unattended, we can hurt ourselves. We can harm ourselves, you know, due to a lack, you know, of not paying attention. Let's just say that. A lack of knowledge. We can even say it that way. We had brought the measure out here recently, because now we done spoke about these things. We want to let you know exactly, you know, who it is, you know, that was able to breach and how they were able to breach, you know, this is special structure when it comes to dealing with the temple of perfection. So what I have in front of me is the Egyptian adept rite of self-initiation, which we went over last week. And we showed you many different aspects in this special demonstration. But we went over one part dealing with the secret places of the hidden God. You know, the chamber of ordeal. We went into the chamber that deal with descent and ascent, the door of ascent. We went into all of that based upon the self. And we kind of scanned over, you know, the functions. I say I wouldn't go into those in the last measure, but going back into this demonstration, we can see the instructions that are being demonstrated here. And this is all talking about, you know, one state. Remember, one night, according to our Moorish Holy Quran, the neophyte slept. Yehoshua, when he was going through these degrees of unfoldment, a slumber, he dozed, he wasn't alert. You know, and at a midnight hour, a door, a mental entrance, a mental entrance into the self, a gateway of his accomplished mind. It had been breached, so to speak. He had not observed it was open, and a priest in somber garb, dismal, toned down, subdued, muted, not flashing now, garb came in and said, "You are the victim of a cruel plot. The priests of Heliopolis are jealous of your fame, and they have said that you will never leave these gloomy crypts alive." Now here's somebody in a place to deal with a master of the self, and now he has thoughts that have breached his consciousness that is telling him, man, if I were you, man, everybody jealous of you. These individuals ain't really trying to take you into the heights of consciousness. They're just leading you on. This is the thought. This is one's own mind. Their own mind, you know, basically thoughts angelic have been overthrown by a devilish thought pattern, and this is how one is able to come through that door. So if you want to know how one gained, you know, entry into this place, this HEKA-KASUT thought pattern, and for those who don't know, the term HEKA-KASUT is where the word Hyksos come from. And for those who don't know, Hyksos was a term that was applied universally. You see, meaning those who were foreign rulers who came into Kemet. You could have came from a place in Africa and you was melanated as ever, but you wasn't from Kemet. You was still considered, you know, a foreign ruler. Now that wasn't always a bad thing, so to speak. But there was one particular group, you know, when you deal with this Hyksos or this HEKA-KASUT, you know, that actually deals with a lower vibration horde of savages. So imagine savagery overthrowing the divinity within you. You know what I mean? Setting up a whole new realm of governance. So in this demonstration, in the picture, it says, When one dreams, one's consciousness naturally shifts to the back of the head. It says this is more so the case when one has a lucid dream. One's reptilian brain stem, or reticular activating formation, determines the depth of one's quantum realm of dreams. It is via one's lucid dreams one can contact another, it says, form of intelligence, which the ancient Egyptian considered to be the associated with Sirius. In essence, one's lucid dreams are one's personal stargate. So there's a potential, for one being able to tap into the consciousness, but there's also a potential for, we can say, naught, thoughts of naught, to enter in if one is not well guarded or fortified. This is why in the Piscean record, when it said that Moses was laying down and the devil and the angel was fighting over his body, at least Moses or Musa had a angelic being there. And you can only do that when you're pure. So if you got a dirty mind, you ain't got no business trying to climb that 12-step ladder all the way up into the heights of consciousness. You might hurt yourself. Because if you go up there dirty, ain't nothing going to be there to protect your body. And you just might become a host for the most of a legion that call themselves many. You see? So this stuff ain't nothing to play with. You see what I'm saying? So, man, it goes into many different aspects of the consciousness. Orion, Osiris, or Osar is the shaman. Isis, or Sirius, being the pineal gland. You see the door, the lucid shift to the back of the head. We were talking about that earlier. We talked about the reptilian brain stem. You already know what a reptilian thought pattern brings to that. That's that serpent in your guard. You see? Man, it goes into the trance state, what is called the hypnagogical part self. And then you have one's consciousness can shift towards beyond the top of one's head. This is called going up above the sun, moon, and stars around the almighty throne of Allah. Yeah, we talking metaphysically. And it says that whereby one's spirit can fly as Heru, Horus, the hawk. Because Heru is seeing straight up. That son of righteousness that we talk about rising with healing in his wings. They didn't tell you that in the Piscean records, though, but we're going to give it to you. Then you have Kokab, which is also dealing with a constellation, a star, Thuban, which is one's consciousness can shift towards the front of one's head. And this is where one is induced into an OBE, or out-of-body experience, so to speak. In other words, we call it tapping into the Akashic records. We call it astral projection, astral travel, whatever you want to call it. You can do it if you got enough God in you, or if you get in touch with the God in you, if you listen to the God in you. Yeah, that's what we mean. And then you have the measure of being able to egress into and out of the spirit world or the quantum dream. In other words, you can cross the borderland at wills. That's what our Moorish Holy Quran says. See, these are the good things. We ain't gonna just tell you about one breaching the temple and all the bad things can happen about building this structure without telling you about the good things that can happen after completing the structure. You see, this is the real mystery that has been unveiled about the Great Pyramid that is above your neck. But if you're missing a capstone, then you done let somebody all seeing eye become your eye. And we already know what takes place after that, right? So these are powerful measures, family. It's just a grand drawing to be able to deal with self-mastery. And we already showed our family, what these different thoughts represent. But you can't build a temple of perfection with bogus building materials. For those who are looking now, you can see the priest of Seti in Sambagar that we was reading about a few minutes ago, the HEKA-KASUT, that Hyksos. Did I say NBC thought pattern? Did I say the prophet said he was going to get the Moors to thinking for themselves, but he got to stop the European from thinking first. He got to stop that thought pattern in us that's thinking like that of the slave master, slave breaker, slave holder, slave catcher. He got to get that up out of us. As a master surgeon, he gave us the tools to be able to utilize again within the workshop of the mind what thought is used to build character, and we can get that up out of us. Did I say cut away the ungainly, that NBC thought pattern, that naughty self, that dirty more thought pattern? Oh, so now what you saying, Brother Shahi? So you saying the NBC has become the vessel for the HEKA-KASUT thought pattern? Are you saying the NBC has become the new ruffian out here slaying the African God, man, huh? Oh, man, did you say that these are people that's keeping us from being free? Or these are the thoughts that have manifested or personified as people to stop our people from being free? Those who take pride in being Negroes. Yeah, we got some of them that think they're Negroes in this new era and time, and they proudly proclaim it. You know, those who think it's proud to be black and colored and so forth, and say it loud, I'm black and proud. I'm a colored man, you know, and if I do something wrong, you know, then I'm gonna be locked up in somebody else's land. Didn't they call that the color of law, assumable jurisdiction, right? You know, these are the ruffians that continue to slay the builders in this new era and time, family. It's our own thought pattern, those who thinking like the slave master, slave maker, slave breaker, slave holder. And you guess, how did they enter? When you stop thinking. That's how they gain entry into this special place. Because they didn't have no business being there. That's why your host would say, what y'all do? Y'all still here? I done conquered a many of you. I done put that scimitar on a many of you. And y'all still here? Somebody had to let you in. Who is that culprit but the lower self? You know what I mean? So it's just a powerful drawing, family. And let's look up this word before we open up the flow. Ruffian. A ruffian is a violent person. That's one of the definitions, right? Especially one involved in crime. Yeah. Thug, roughneck, scoundrel, villain, rogue, rascal, lout, hooligan, hoodlum, vandal, delinquent. Some of our people think they be tough when they be taking on these special titles now. Rowdy, bully boy, bully brute, larkin, tough, bruiser, heavy, gorilla. Well, a lot of our people like to call themselves gorillas now. They got young rappers call themselves gorillas. You know, and they think they doing it. The gorilla has become the icon. Now we know the savagery that is demonstrated at the level of gorilaship, but that's a whole nother measure. Yahoo! I thought that was a website. Rough, Yobu, Lagerlot, man, Lagerlot, pardon self, Hoodie, Hood, Goon, Ruffy. Man, if I didn't know no better, I would think they were talking about some of my people that like to act crazy. You know, so we have been working against ourselves. We have been doing some hard work to go against when it comes to nation building. So if you want to know who breached the temple, well, it got to be somebody that act as a mercenary for somebody outside of our nation to come within the nation, just as it has to do with foreign thoughts that infiltrate our thinking apparatus. So that being said, Moors, we're going to stop right there. You know, and again, our subject matter is, if the temple walls of ancient Kemet perfected man was strong and high, how gain the HEKA-KASUT lower self entry into this place? So we're going to call on our Moorish king. Want to give honors to the Moors that have shown up, you know, getting ready to show out. Want to give honors to all of our family that's showing up right here in the chat. Brother John Potter, you know, we give honors to you, beloved brother. We give honors to the divine angel of wisdom in here, Shamsuddin Bey, Aki Kaba. All is well. I am as I come, my brother. Yes, sir. He said, I am. Yeah, I come as I am. That's right. I know. And who is this? Divinely Black. We got our brother Bati Bey and Capricorn Mahdi up in here. So what we want to do right now, we want to open up the floor and hear from our family. You know, so *6 your phones or unmute your mic online, and all is well, family. Islam. First come, first serve. We got some angel food over here. Islam. Oh, we ain't got nobody. Can y'all hear me out there, family?
Yes, I'm hearing.
Okay, Islam, brother Marvin Edward Bay. Let me make sure this other demonstration ain't out. Because I see we got a couple of people on our panel, but nobody. Can you hear me, people on the panel? Just let me know for okay, Islam. Okay, Islam. Well, the floor is open, man. I know we ain't got nobody scared up in here now.
Islam.
Well, we got Sister Curta Bay coming in at the same as Marvin Edward Bay. Come on, Sister Curta Bay. I know Curta Bay ain't scared. She'll swing that scimitar in a minute.
Islam, God, man. First, let me rise and give praises to the great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act One. I give honors to all my governor officials. I give honors to you for this wonderful class tonight. I tell you, I'm just sitting here, just taking it all in because you covered so much, and I'm gonna be brief because of time, and I didn't get all of your subject, the subject title, but I know it's talking about building the temple of perfected man. And some of the things that you covered that really touched me was when you was talking about the temples and how you just went through that uh, the thing the thing that you had up there with the I'm looking for my notes now, the one that had um the 42 what you call them, the 42 things of the helping us to become the 42 path of Moorish wisdom. That's what it was, and how you just broke each one of those things down. I mean, man, that was so powerful. I definitely got to go back and listen to this playback. And then when you was talking about those, I even thought about the 42 laws of my art too, and how that is our foundation. And but you are breaking it down to us, taking us deeper into these teachings, because even when when we studied about the 42 laws of Ma'at, and of course you showing us how it's being demonstrated on the outside, but most important, how it's being demonstrated on the inside. And I know on my journey when I was coming through, a lot of they had us focusing more on our outside versus going within. And then when you was talking about the temples, I remember when we was in the Piscine area, when we was in the church, we used to talk about I believe it was Moses' temple, how you had the outer court and the inner court, and then you had I believe the Holy of the Holies. Has been so long since we used to talk about that. And you had the Holy of the Holies, and then you had you had the holy place, and then you went into the Holies of Holies. And that one, I think they were saying, if you wasn't right, you would they would tie something tie a rope around your leg, and if you wasn't right, you would go up in there and you would fall over dead, and they had to pull you back out. And that's symbolic of what you were saying a few minutes ago when you was talking about, how if our minds and hearts are not pure and clean, like our prophet tells us, to purify our heart and our mind, we could get in trouble. And but gratitude, God, man, for letting me share, and gratitude, Dr. Edwards Bay, for letting me come forward. And I'm going to stop right there. But this is just a wonderful class. And yes, I'm sharing it all on my little Facebook. I'm sharing it. Y'all hit that button, because this is some grand teaching that's going on here. And gratitude, God, man, for letting me share. Islam.
In Islamism, God, woman, we give honors to you for that grand thought. Praise be to Allah. That's a powerful measure, goddess and queen. Oh, man. Islam, Dr. Marvin Nathaniel Evans Bay, what have you to say? Brother High Priest.
I'm gratitude, God. Gratitude, God, man, for calling me. Rising, giving all praise to the great God Allah. Give the highest honor to his prophet, our prophet, Noble Drew Ali. El Hajj Reese Abdul Ali. Give honor to our theocratic government, our Moorish American government. Give high honor to our Egg One. Give high honor to all of our officials. Give high honor to this class, our Moorish Perspectives class. As I give honor to you, Dr. Jadu Emitia Muhammad Mohid Shepsuel, for hosting our Moorish Perspectives class. As well as give honor to everything that's Moorish. Our flag, our seal, our emblem, our divine constitution, our holy Quran, our book of Ali, our 101, 102, our human of a nation. All of our divine revelations, I give honor. I give honor to the forerunner, Marcus Monte Gabriel, as well as I give honor to our ancestors, whom shoulders we stand upon. Now, this is a very powerful class. I give honor to all those that aided in bringing for our class this evening. And I give honor to the guys and all those that give their message before me and all that will give their message after me. Very powerful class. If the temple walls of ancient Kemet perfected man were strong and high, how gain the HEKA-KASUT Lord self entry into this place? You know, and as I was listening to you and trying to keep up, you always give such a high class, you know what I mean? You cover so much ground. You know what I mean? When you were talking about the temple, you know what I mean? The temple of Solomon and the temple in Mecca, you know, and how they were structured, you know what I mean? In the semblance, you might say, or replication of the body, of the man, you know, a woman, you know, and to me, that just, you know, reigns real clear, because our whole purpose here on this planet is to bear witness that there's no God but the great God Allah. You know what I mean? And so, and we do that by representing our higher self, by being the Lord of the plane of manifest, as well as the Lord of the soul. You know, and so this is what really rang real clear to me. You know what I mean? Everything is and even though, and when you went to the one from India, you know, it made me think of the giants. You know what I mean? How we walk the earth more God than human. You know what I mean? And they looked upon us, you know, as a galactic weapon. You know what I mean? We were giants. You know what I mean? And so this is what it's all about to me, perfecting oneself. You know what I mean? Everyone individually. But of course, we have a Moorish American government. So we are a nation of angels. You know what I mean? Of giants. You know what I mean? So each and every one of us, as we strive to overcome, you know what I mean, all of those misnomers, you know what I mean, all of those, I say, you know, graves, those shallow graves that we were buried in, you know what I mean, as we understand the law, and as we, you know what I mean, elevate our consciousness to the level that we make the law, this computer. Hold up, man. Let me cut this demonstration. Oh, okay, did I get it? Okay. Yeah, how we have to have these laws conform or reconform to the law. You know what I mean? Everything that the prophet taught us. He taught it all of this. You know what I mean? For the whole purpose of us, you know what I mean, being the spearhead, you know what I mean, of uplifting fallen humanity. Because we, as the city, we got to take these lessons and go in the east and still straight out those brothers. You know what I mean? As well as ourselves and our more kin that don't even know that they got a prophet to come to save them from their sinful ways. Don't even know till today. You know what I mean? I'm around family. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? I love myself. But just to observe, you know what I mean? And to still maintain my consciousness. But there's no way I'm going to, you know, fall victim to any of the, you know, I don't even know how to put it. you know, like we state, you can't let the dead out singles. You know what I mean? So we continually purify our hearts and minds. That's what it's all about. And we know that even though people don't know, we know that God's still there within them, the very God that we serve, that we only praise. The great God Allah is in all of us. And as this whole demonstration of life itself on earth, you know, everything, you know, that comes within our experience, we know that it all is a part of the great God Allah. Nothing exists outside of the great God Allah. And so, yeah, like I said, you know, you really, really brought it home, you know what I mean, as you demonstrated how our ancestors built pyramids, built structures, bearing witness to who we are. God, you know what I mean, Allah and man. Gratitude, God, man, for allowing me to speak. Islam and peace.
In Islam and peace, grand man, we give honor to you for that love thought. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. Gratitude, grand man. Islam. Okay, I hear two.
Islam. This brother ahead of me. I'm just getting in line.
I'll stand down.
All right. We'll get you, brother, after Sister Cammy. Go ahead, Sister Cammy.
Yes, sir. This is Sister Candy. I'm in Michigan. I heard the brother coming in as I was coming in. I rise, honor, and praise the great God of Allah. I honor His Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, officials, citizens, Moors here, there, and everywhere, especially my Moorish kin. With that isolation, sometimes with that lower self, you know it's not. You know not to give in to the lower self-thinking and kind of stay away from it. When you're in isolation and you have to deal with that above the neck demonstration, and you have to examine not only the higher self, but the lower self. In that particular ayah, I thought about reasoning and the ability to reason, that even though Yehoshua was in isolation, that he was able to reason. He's saying to himself, how'd you get in here? Because I don't know if he actually was having visual hallucinations or if it was a different parts of your lower self, like a team of thoughts as far as the lower self, or if he was actually visualizing these images. But his thought was the use of reason. How'd you get in here with these walls being built this way? And then the lower self got to using trickery, where secret tunnels all up under here, and you got to deceive the priest and do this and do that. Those lower self thoughts trying to overpower the higher self thoughts. And when you go and examine it, sometimes when you're reasoning, those lower self thoughts can be very manipulative and get to have you thinking, you know, you can do this and outsmart that, or, you know, even with stuff like the lottery, I can hit, you know, that lower self can convince you to do things that you wouldn't normally do. And then he used reasoning as far as it not making sense, or that it was the lower self creating these thoughts. And the higher self conquered the lower self, and victory was sure. Gratitude for allowing me to go before the brother. I appreciate it.
Islam. Gratitude, sis. Islam. Praise be to Allah. All right. All right, brother. Come on in here. I think that was that Larry L? Or Leroy Larry Bay. Islam, pardon self, Leroy Larry Bay, pardon self. Go ahead, brother.
Islam. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you.
Islam. Dr. Larry Bay, South Carolina Catholic. I rise and praise the great God Allah. Give honor to the Prophet Muhammad Ali. Give honor to our theocratic Moorish American government. Give honor to the official black government. Special honor to the citizens. Special honor to you now, to the Grand Chief, bringing forth other Grand Moorish perspectives. Give honor to all Moors for before me. To all Moors who speak after me. Give honor for all those who open ways for the class tonight. Give honor to all those who see me live. Our family on Facebook. Islam. Well, in our Moorish questionnaire, the prophet lets us know who are those who represent the lower self, those who are cast out of the holy city, and those who accept their teaching. And so, you know, he let us know that prophet lets us know that man is truth and falsehood strange mixed. Now, when you get these truths, these divine lessons, you know, and you get caught on things outside of self that you were speaking earlier, you know, then you allow your guard to drop in those caucus or foreign thoughts, you know, outside of yourself can invade, you know, your very being, you know, and dictate your soul. We know man's spirit dictates his own soul, you know, but if something else outside of yourself dictates your soul, then that becomes your God. Whether it's food, money, man, woman, anything else outside of yourself is able to control you, control your mind, and that becomes your special God. He said, and probably said, man, God today, not man, not his God tomorrow. Man's highest ideal is his God. You see? And so those things outside of himself can take you, you know, and cast you out your own special God, your higher self, you know, your God, your plane of soul above your neck. You know, if you get caught up on those special things outside of yourself, you know, and becomes some slavery to them. You know, and the prophet lets us know that true God is within. You know, there's a geographic garden, you know, God is within there. That garden within, you know, again, man on a special plane of soul. And the soul is where thought is formed. You know, thoughts cause the raw, and thoughts cause of the fall. You know, and so through the teaching of Western Freemasonry, where, you know, it kept us bound down to this manifest plane, we weren't able to, you know, raise our thoughts on how to enter the wisdom, because we became a slave to sin or a slave to the flesh. The prophet let us know, not in the flesh to think or the bones to reason. But when the prophet gave us back, brought us back to divine teaching, to Kemetic teaching, you know, he said, more with the lessons you can get your house in order. So through these Kemetic teachings, purifying our hearts and mind with love, now we can think outside the flesh now, free to capture soul, that allow the soul, you know, now sail on smoother seas, and we're becoming more purposeful thinkers, more free thinkers, and not restricted to the flesh. We can rise above this manifest plane, you know, either our native plane once again, but the spiritual plane. And thus, the answer two in the questionnaire for those who represent, who are those angels that protect the holy city of Mecca? Who are those who represent the higher self? He said those angels that protect the holy city of Mecca. And in Mecca, you know, prophet let us know it's within. You know, Mecca, Kaaba, God, spirit, soul above the neck, and higher self. You know, and it's us in this era of time, of those angels that protect, you know, our very garden within. You know, from those, you know, outside thoughts, foreign thoughts. They come and try to tear, you know, cause chaos and confusion within our own very self. You know, so it's up to us to be those multis of security over itself, governing our thoughts at all times. You see, discerning the lower thoughts from the higher thoughts. The lower self just an illusion. We don't have no life or light unless we give it life. Getting caught up on our passions or desires, and you mentioned about the tools of workshop of the mind, and the one, compass, the ones we use, within the workshop of the mind to keep our passions circumscribed, so that we able to maintain the equilibrium and balance within itself. That's what Dr. Edwards Bates mentioned earlier. And once we do that, we can retain our station as Lord of the plane of soul, the plane of things made manifest. And that word Lord just simply means governor, by governing our thoughts, through ma'atic law, universal law. The prophets know when the will of man and the will of law are one, and the resurrection is a fact. That's my measure. It's been grand, more expected. Peace and love.
Yes, sir. Gratitude, brother. Peace and love to you as well. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. All right, Islam. Is there another more who would like to come forth? Islam. Brother Bati Bey. Islam, high priest.
Islam. This is Dr. Bati Bey with the Iowa Territory First Light Garage. We give all manner of praise to Allah. Praise to the Prophet, our star theocratic government, our royal council, our flag, seal, emblem, our divine constitution, our swift angels, our Mufti, our citizens alike. Honors to, all that we have before us. And you did a grand demonstration on this teaching, and really expressing point by point what we're here for and what we got to do within ourselves. And the craziest thing when I'm looking at it, and I was listening to your demonstration on this, is that when you look at all the imagery, even on the television, what it says. When we're talking about Superman, well, we know Ka means Ka is an expression of a soul, and El is the God. So it's the God of the soul, or soul God, being able to govern yourself, and you become. And it's basically saying you're going to transcend. There's a book Gary Roberts put out from Superman the Man, and that was basically it was about the prophet that in life it was about man transitioning from the lower levels of what carnal life has to give, and how we get bogged down and we get taught all these things even in the schools that have nothing to do, or they don't teach us how to apply the stuff to ourselves. And so without the knowledge of who you truly are, you will never be able to transcend into the higher, when we say higher dictator, it just means higher thoughts, not letting certain things that you come across affect you. And even if it does affect you, as you said previously in your measure, pull yourself up. If we also look at the Matrix, I've seen a European say that was a documentary and not a movie. He said it was a documentary because that is when the seed is fully open, as it says in our chapter 1. And so when we look at what is what's within ourselves, we will see the superpowers that we have with just a thought. That's why the Bible said, if I can only get the people to think, you can take this and save yourself. But in order to be a savior, everybody looks at a savior as being a God, somebody who could come up there and stop their affliction. And in these days and times, we are always taught to chase a God outside ourselves that can stop our affliction, when all we have to do is turn our eye to that single eye and look within. We get to write down our own what are we doing that's causing us that are blocking us from reaching these levels. And a lot of times in our paradigm we use a T-square, and write down, and you would have to do that with every negative thought that you I'm not going to say negative thought, I'm going to say idiosyncrasy that the people have, that I have. And why do you react this way when this happens? Why does and what is the cause of it? And we know the cause of it is those five folds of man. And so with the tools in the workshop of the mind, you are able to use it to flip and even dismantle those five folds of man in order to turn yourself back to the higher dictates. Not the hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, and theft, but the love, true peace, freedom, and justice. And that's putting yourself back in the correct form. That is the true reparation of man, where we're looking at the spirit sense. Reparation is putting yourself back to where you were prior to your fall. You know, and so with that, I'll leave it at come with grand measure, grand demonstration, and peace and love. Islam.
Islam. And peace and love to you, grand man. We give honors to you for that draw, and praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism.
Yeah.
All right, we got two brothers trying to come in. Islam, what's the drawing, more?
Let Angel go first. Islam.
Yeah, Islam.
Islam, Dr. Larry Daniels Baker, South Carolina Consul Agent. First, I rise to give praise and glory to Allah, the most merciful. And I give high honors to his holy and divine prophet, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, the last prophet in this new era of time. And I give honors to Act 1 of our divine constitution. And I honor you, brother, great subject, as always, great class. And I honor all the brothers and sisters that spoke before me. And I honor all those that speak after me. And I honor all my brothers and sisters online. Peace and blessings, peace and love. Okay, if the temple walls are so high, how did evil get entry into this place? Well, Islam, brother. Well, you know, when you were saying you was reading and teaching us, and when I heard you say that our prophet was climbing a 3-step ladder, and he had his tools with him. You know, so in order for the Moors to see, that's what it's all about, because the Moors, you know, once we become once we understand who we are, in other words, that's a better way to put it. We understand that, you know, we climbing from this fall that happened to us, brother, you know, and in order for us to get back into our, you know, native plane, we have to keep these tools on board. Because like our prophet, you know, if our prophet already dealt a mastermind is getting tested, you know, it's only natural that we understand this right here, that we gonna be tested at every level, you know, and doors are going to open that the Moors were not aware of, that was there all the time, and it's all about mastering the self, you know. You know, these classes are teaching us how to unfold and to understand how to become that temple that's not built with tools and friction. You see, and that's Solomon's temple, you know, and all these temples and the illustrations that you were showing, you know, it's all about man. It's all about us. It's all about the angel, that God coming back into himself, you know, and start to work that magic, and you know. And the prophet tells us that we can leave the flesh at will, you know, and it's just so much that we are privileged to. But first, we must become ourselves, and then understanding that once we master it, you know, once we start to listen to that little small voice, you know, that you were speaking about also, you know, we start to listen to that small voice enough until it becomes our nature to do right. You see, and it's you know, and as long as the Moors on this physical plane, like the prophet taught us, as long as we on this physical plane, we're gonna need these tools. You see, because we hadn't found our way back yet. But the thing is, at every level, there's a test, and like one of our officials was saying on one of the calls, until we go back into that ocean, we're gonna need these tools. Until we come back into the spiritual world, that way, but as long as we're on this physical plane, we're gonna need these tools to navigate, because there's always higher and higher levels of consciousness for man to become. And once man becomes the one, and he starts to listen to what I always say, I'm just listening, excuse me, Morris. Okay, excuse me, Morris. Yeah, and understanding that once he becomes, we're becoming the master of Allah's nature, like you said. That's what man needs. That's so, that's part of unfolding, understanding that who we are, and the only way we could become who we are is that we know who we are, and all these things that you taught us tonight. It's a challenge. The challenges are coming. Just being on, even after these classes, the more going to be tested on what he knows. So once he understands that he has to apply these lessons to his life and put himself inside of him, and there's many levels of man. You see, and I was just thinking, I'm almost finished, more. There's so many levels, and like he was saying, as above, so it is below. As below, so it is above. As within, so it is without. And it's in that thought of that perfected man, that that's we're talking about alchemical now. We talk about changing that rocket to that gold, but it actually talking about man, and that even that thought that you could think of where you have become that mastermind, it's there. It's in one of them subtle bodies above. As it is above, so if you could think it, you could have it. If you could think it, it's there. But you got to do the work. You got to transform that into, it's just like, excuse me, one more second, 1 more minute. I don't think I got it. But okay, 1 more minute. I was, well, you know what? I better let my moves go. But it's a beautiful class, brother. I don't want to take up too much time. I know you're going to go over a little, but I don't want to take up no. It's after 9 now. Peace and blessing, Islam.
Islam, gratitude, more peace and love. All right, Islam, our last Moorish kin, brother. You there, grand man?
Islam, yeah, it's Dr. Sincere Bay. I did see the time though. It's going over that 6 hours. So
Okay,
I'm gonna stand down. So I know you want to call on officials and stuff. Much gratitude for allowing me to speak, though, Muslim. Peace.
yeah, Islam, gratitude to the Moorish kin. Praise be to Allah. And in going toward our officials, what I will do for our family that is there, we want to encourage our family that's out there listening to come forth to our conference calls as well. And you can go to our website and find the number there, and we definitely have some grand drawing to bring forth, and also get the Book of Fire, the Exhuming of a Nation. You can call headquarters at 434-676-1555 and reach out to our beloved Grand National Chairman and all of Act One, and order all your Moorish literatures, family. Another thing we want to say before we go to our first official, these are keys, for self-mastery and unfoldment. And if we go into them properly, we get a grand understanding of each and every one of them, Moors. For example, a lot of our Moorish kin don't know that years ago, when we put these demonstrations on the manifest with the 42 paths of Moorish wisdom, we was actually drawing from the ancient Comedian mystery system in the tree of life, we give honors to our brother Raul Nefa Amin, who was demonstrating that drawing. And we definitely seen the Moorish route through that demonstration. And in the first sphere, if you will, dealing with the analysis of the cosmological system, we find in the first act of manifestation, I want our Moorish kin to hear this briefly before we go to our official. It says, the first act of manifestation or supreme being brings itself out of the subjected state. Before creation can begin, the supreme being must first make objective its qualities of being in sphere zero. And this would correspond with the beginning when we go back to our circle 7, like we showed you earlier in our 42 paths of Moorish wisdom, which corresponds with all saw here, coming out of Amen, Nu, as they call it, the celestial Nile, so to speak. It says, note that in one subjective state, there cannot even be so much as a single thought. The very first manifestation of a thought is already a process of objectification. The only consciousness that there is that of consciousness being aware that it is conscious. Creation then is preceded by a process whereby the supreme being brings itself into manifestation. And that's through us, family, through the principles. The first act of manifestation, which corresponds to the first sphere of the tree of life, ether, is the supreme being's identification with the unlimited potential and unlimited presence, space, infiniteness, and time, eternalness of the subjective realm. The supreme being brings forth the awareness that its identity is the capability of being wherever it chooses to be, and that is immortal and eternal. That's the omnipresence of God, family, within us. It says the second act of manifestation, the supreme being brings forth his creative faculties. And we see us as a representation of the creative faculties, the 7 postulates, everything we showed you in our 42 paths of Moorish wisdom. It says the second act of manifestation is the supreme being bringing forth his creative faculties. These are the will and its spirit power. The divine will, the second sphere of the tree of life, is the faculty that indicates what will take place and is thus the initiator of creative events. At this level, there is the awareness that the energy/matter from whence all things are made is an eternal and infinite continuum. No part of it can have a separate existence in time or space. Therefore, all things are parts of the whole and are related to and independent upon each other. That's the Necharu, that's nature, that's us. From another perspective, this states that no thing has a quality in itself, and that qualities are the result of a thing's relationship to the whole and to other things, as we shall see later in this book. In the intuitive automatic operation of this principle in man's thinking is the foundation of wisdom. The creative faculty of the supreme being at the second sphere is therefore divine wisdom and is omniscient. It is also realized that the will is infinite in its potential to initiate activities, as the energy/matter will carry them out, essentially unlimited. The spiritual power, the third sphere, like the second sphere, look back to the subjective realm and the essential state of being, and it realizes that as the energy and the matter is the basis of all creation, is essentially unlimited, there are no limitations to this ability to carry out what is willed by the second sphere. It is the divine omnipotence. Note that the will is the potential, while the spiritual power is the actualizer or producer of the effect in the world. So it goes on, in many measures, and it speaks on, the creator as it manifests as a system of government and directors and the metaphysical entities that would carry out the work of administering in the physical world. And it's just powerful, that we link these keys up, in divinity. So I just want to say gratitude for all of those who know how to navigate through their 42 paths and go back to the source. And also don't allow nobody no thought of naught to breach, any particular space. That means you got to be strong, fortified, impregnable doctrine, and won't no weaknesses be there that somebody can come up through a door that you don't observe. So let us call forth our officials at this special time, calling on our beloved goddess and queen, Sister Offset, Moon Air, Islam. Are you there, goddess and queen? Islam, sister.
Gratitude. First, let me rise and give all praise and love and honor to our prophet, the Ali, honors to our Moorish American government, our officials of our government, and our citizens. Honors to you, our National Assistant Grand Chief of Moorish America, Dr. Shadul Mehdi and Shestura, for opening our conference talk onto law and for bringing forth a grand Moorish perspective this evening. Honors to our brother, Consul General of the state of Texas, Dr. Edwards Bay, Marvin Edwards Bay, for taking registration and reading our subject chapter 3. And honors to all our Moorish kin and our Moorish family that are on live watching and listening to the demonstration, for being here in the process of uplifting fallen humanity for our Moorish American nation. Now, the subject matter that you brought forth on the floor, dealing with self, dealing with knowing self, not letting anyone, or should I say, observing those doors on the side by which the negative or the lower self can enter in, and allowing our thought take us in contrary to what Allah and our Prophet Il-Hashri Abdullah expects us to do and to be. Based on how you demonstrated more, the one thing that I paid attention to, that the first thing, as soon as I heard the subject matter, the first thing I thought about was thought, because thought was the cause of our fall, and thought will be and is the cause of our rise back into one free national name of Moorish America and a free nation of Moorish America. And I'm not going to take long, because the whole thing is based on thought, not letting it in, governing the lower self, and keeping ourselves in the on the righteous path that our Prophet clearly cut for us to follow him. Islamism, peace and love to all my Moorish kin. Gratitude.
In Islamism, and gratitude and peace to you as well, Sister Offset. We give honors to you, goddess, for that special drawing. Praise be to Allah. Islam. All right. Islam. Well, let us call forth our National Grand Mufti, Dr. Khonshu Ma'ak Herube. Islam. You there, Grand Man?
Islam.
Islamism.
A religion, gratitude. We rise, first and foremost, giving all thanks, giving adoration, worship, and praise to our Father God, Allah, the great God of the universe, most beneficent and most wise, and we give the highest honors and give to his prophet, our prophet, the last prophet in these days and in these times, Prophet Abu Ali, the Savior of humanity. We give honors to his forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and we give honors to his government, our government, the Moorish American government, the government in which we live according to Act 6. We give honors to the officials of this great government, our divine ministers, angels, Mufti, Royal Council, our secretaries. We give honors to our citizens, the Moorish Americans. We give honors to our flag, our divine constitution and bylaws, the Holy Quran, our Grand National Seal, Grand National Emblem, our Book of Fire. We give honors to everything that is Moorish. We give a special high honors to you, our National Assistant Grand Chief, Dr. Shadul Mehdi for bringing forth this grand Moorish perspective. We give honors to all of our Moorish kids who have spoken before us, to our Moorish kids that will speak after us. We give honors to you, angels. We continue to give honors where honors are due, and honor all true and divine prophets. Yes, we give honors to our ancestors as they have come before us, leading the way. We are there today without doubt or contradiction, because no one has the power to change man from his descent nature. Praise Allah for that. And honors to all of our guests with us this evening as sympathizers, supporters. We honor you. And it's been a grand class, Angel. And, you know, I was thinking about how one can gain access, you know, even though you think you put up these high walls. And it's something that I've learned in a study what they call a mind-body connection. Just like how the mind has the power to make the body sick, what we call psychosomatic. And the mind has the power to also heal the body. And we know this to be true. But it's also true in the reverse of the context that what you do to your body can affect your mind. What you do to the lower self can also affect the higher self as far as, you know, how you interpret these things and the messages that are coming. And so this is why we have to have as above, so below type of thought pattern, or a holistic thought pattern when we go into the healing of ourselves, when we go into the study of ourselves, when we go into trying to move towards perfected man. We have to always look at both sides of the coin, because man is truth and falsehood, strangely mixed. And so, just as the mind has connected to the body has connected to the mind, just as one can access the realm through a higher nature, one can also access the realm through a lower nature. You know, this is how these ones come down and incarnate. We talk about these certain spirits. You know, a low spirit doesn't come out of the higher realm. It comes out of a lower realm. And, you know what, we have to be aware of that. And so when we take a look at the self and, like I said, engage how we got to be aware of the folk that comes and tries to throw us out the path and out for our divine mission, knowing that, yeah, there's another door. You know, there's another door that you wouldn't observe, you know, because you might get caught up in just thinking that, looking at one side of the self, the true self, the higher self, and forget at some point that man is truth, falsehood, strangely mixed. Until you come out of this plane to manifest, you know, that demonstration is a photo fight. So it's just been a grand class. Gratitude for the class and gratitude to you, Moorish America, for being here with us and giving us the time, attention, and respect. We love you. Islam and peace.
Islam. And the love is mutual. National Grand Mufti, we give honors to you for that grand draw, and praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. I want to give honors to our Moorish kin checking in as well, brother. Right on point. All of our family out there, Sister Sacred Infinite Energy, Empress, we give honors to you as well. Welcome to our broadcast. And praise be to Allah. Let us call forth at this time Act 1. You know, our Grand National Secretary of State, she was on a mission earlier, Sister Shepsut Rakat Ma'at and Putut to come and bay, but we know she keep that scimitar, you know, oiled up. So you there, Goddess and Queen?
Close as a thought. Gratitude.
Oh, man. Islam.
Grand class. Gratitude, Moorish Ken. Islam. First of all, I want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days and times, giving honor to our Moorish American government, all of our officials, staff, with angels, muftis, divine ministers, most especially our Moorish Ken. Giving honor to all those Moors that spoke before me, all those Moors that will speak after me. Giving a special honor to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shedawa Menti El Mahedid Shepsuel, for opening our meetings according to law. Also to our Consul General of the State of Texas, Dr. Marvin Edwards Day, for taking registration and also reading our subject chapter for the week. Giving a special honor to our host instructor, our National Assistant Grand Sheik of Moorish America, Dr. Shadow Amenti El Mohedded Chepsewell, for our Grand Moorish Perspectives class this evening. Our subject matter is the temple walls of ancient Kemet, perfected man, were strong and high. How gained these HEKA-KASUT or lower self entry into this place? This was such a powerful measure, Dr. Shaheed. And welcome to our family on the line. Is indeed a blessing and an honor. When I was reflecting on this and listening to my Moorish kin, we look at, as far as that lower aspect, dealing with the lower self within, evil entities or negative energies, whatever terminology we want to put on it. The thing about it is we have got to recognize the power of our thoughts, the power of what we speak, recognizing the fact that as Moorish American nationals, whatever thoughts that we have is imperative that it matches, the word should match with the thought, and that's dealing with sincerity. The prophet lets us know that one's heart and mind should not be a variant. So you shouldn't be thinking one thing, speaking another, because that's the level of hypocrisy. When we look at how gains the lower self entrance, I was reflecting on a number of measures, which you spoke on several in reference to. We see that in the chapter we're speaking about Yehoshua slept, or dealing with the night, which is symbolic of unconsciousness or a state of forgetfulness. I was also looking at how those lower thoughts can gain interest because we're dealing with the self, whether it's weeds of doubt or desire for wanting to do something, king ambition, or one's heart has become hardened because of the various calamities that one has gone through in their life experience, which brings about a state of not having any mercy or compassion for one another, various distractions here on this manifest plane, and also distractions within our own thought pattern, getting taken off the mission. Pacifiers of the mind is so varied here on this plane of things made manifest. It's not anywhere that you can go where they're not pacifiers of the mind to get you taken off your special mission of divinity. Provocation is another one where because one is not focusing on the study of the self, and someone may say something or do something that you don't like, and now you're ready to take somebody off the count behind your passions not having been put in check. And this is why we have the benefit of the tools in the workshop of the mind. And as our Dr. Shaheed spoke about, we're not speaking about tools on a physical nature. We're speaking about within the mindset. It's one thing to know about the tools. It's another one to use them. We're not talking about walking around, as our Grand Sheik speaks about, with the tool belt on, but let it collect dust. So this is why these tools were provided for us to use in the workshop of the mind. And when we look at divinity as being part of our nature, we have got to, as a people, learn how to unfold, giving honor to our ancestors for having brought these master lessons. And when you were bringing about the situation that the pattern, the blueprint was already laid out from our ancestors, and you spoke about India, Mecca, etc., and how they use the same pattern, but all of it is dealing with the going within or the consciousness of the self, or how man unfolds unto his God state. And this is why we are so powerful as a people when we're on a conscious level, recognizing the fact that we and our Creator are one. The other thing that really hit home for me was in reference to being able to listen to your higher thoughts, where it's easy, and when you do that, listening to the higher thoughts within yourself, don't go down that path, or that thing is out of order. Those kind of thoughts, as you get older, you learn how to pay more attention to. Whereas I can recall in my youth, I was like, let me see what's going to happen. And invariably, it doesn't end well when you go against that first thought. So when you were speaking about listening to your higher thoughts, that it's easier to listen to instructions by one outside of the self. And so you made it most plain in reference to obey. We're speaking about when you obey your higher self or the higher thoughts that you have within, and recognizing the fact that we are here in a sacred school, and we're here to learn. And the point is, you're going to learn the lessons, whether it's on this plane or the next, but the key is being able to receive these holy and divine instructions and making it applicable to the self. So it's all about the self-mastery. It's all about the treasures that we have above our neck. And so often we look for gold, silver, what have you, on a manifest level where the treasures lie within our own self, where we are masters of our own universe if we take the time to study and get rid of those things to keep us bound down to this manifest level. So we've got to learn how to recognize those negative thoughts within ourselves, put it in check, because we don't have to have them, because it is our nature to be godly, as we are all children of the one great creator. So this has just been a great grand measure. Much gratitude to you, God man, for all the work that you do, and gratitude to our family for listening in. Our chairman on a mission this evening. Gratitude to Act One. Much peace and love for calling me forth. Gratitude.
Islam. And gratitude, Grand National Secretary of the State, for that powerful measure being brought forth from our Father's treasures. Islamism without the schism. And that's courtesy of the Tribe of Endurance family. For those who don't know, we give honors to all of you, both of the high priestess and the high priest. We give honors to cherubim and seraphim in the spirit of the mighty God Allah. Goodness gracious. Islamism. If y'all don't know y'all got some protection over here, Moorish kin, I don't know what to tell you. These are, you're talking about those who are giants. We standing upon their shoulders, who have put security on their people because they love them. So we give honors to you, family, for all that you do. Well, speaking of, those who are placing security on what they love, we might as well go on up that ladder, and get in touch with the Godhead. Dr. Serapis Amin Ra'el, Islam. You there, grand man? Oh man, we know you in that apparatus, Islam.
This has been a how you say it, a comedy the word cloud storm, and it's been a demonstration in the 4 winds blowing, and one tears all that out house and rise high above its plane. But let us give a lot of praise, the highest honors to the last God, Prophet number 2 Ali, and honors to our bishops of our staff, Grand Mufti, Sister Grand Mufti, Grand Mufti Club, the band minister, student ministers, light, royal council, officials, supervising supporters, our flag, bill, union, Constitution in which we stand, Book of our read, 101, 102, everything that we can imagine our life to see. And give honors to this demonstration. Dr. Saeed, I can't give any more credit to what is being revealed here. All of the professors and talents that are work have given it all out. And not to say that the treasure is empty, but it will be redundant, something repetitive. And we want to give our honors to all of the drawings, true It's peaceful. I want to look at that door, because that's where we always get in trouble about. That door that we don't see on the place that we may be. So we go into a room and don't observe the things that are in the room, and we don't see the door that's wide open, and that the fact that things lurk in the dark of the room that we're not paying attention to. But it's still a grand illustration that we pay attention to these things to give us the livelihood of being one without thoughts gone alive. This is a grand illustration to say the least. And we praise the Lord for all of our brothers and sisters who are looking to find their way home. Come on. The door is open for you. And don't let no one tell you different. And in this house, there's nothing but love as we welcome you to the house of love, to the house of Drew Bill. And we are your brothers and your sisters, and wait on you to come through on the manifest. So peace, love, and love to you all, and your love to each other, and may Allah continue to guide you along the way, and hopefully on your way back to the house, back to your father's house. Praise the Lord. January 15th. 1929, a warning from the prophet to be read there. I hear that from our sisters. You must hear our radical, agitated speakers, rather dirty in the homes on the street. Rest in peace and not destruction. God thanks your cause to Europeans because of confusion. Remember your cause for your salvation. So that your baby's orders of your severe consequence. We have the last true peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must take its course. When these citizens of criminal citizens who hold this citizens toward the government or the property are violating divine covenant with more food, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Lord will and must obey the laws laid down for them by the prophet. They lose confidence in their prophet. The truth telling their God and that is when they tell you said in the sense of the state. We had a prophet bound to. This is always a divine movement. Founded by the prophet number Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the government's not right. The prophet therefore said them not to the band. The boys they do their part, taking the prophet in the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet. The will of Allah to redeem his people from the simple ways. Now all the prophet number Drew Ali. This divine warning which is supreme law of now, and we're being enforced by the shared government hereby. Islam. I hold the covenant of the angelic nation. You're the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breath of one another has given you son. Like the bond of affection, therefore, unite you with God. That peace and happiness will dwell in our Father's house. And when you set foot in the world, remember the relation that binds you love, unity, and preparing understanding for their own blood. By virtue of the virtue of system, if that sisters in trouble, forsake her not. So seven fortunes of our Father contribute to the support of this whole race, and its care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Islam. This means put the close court and act to by the divine constitution and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Go in peace, boys, and may Allah continue to bless tomorrow's Sunday school. We'll see you at the particular time. Long live Voice America. Peace.
In Islam, peace and love, Mo.
Great class, brother Saeed.
Great class, Dr. Jackson. Grand class. What you want?
Love you,
Love
Lord.
you, National Grand Chips. So angel number one.
Islam.
Love you, Bush
Islam.
America.
We love you more.
Islam.
Peace and love.
Peace and love, family.
Gratitude. Islam more.
Love you, Moors.
Peace and love. And Islam to the Moors also that checked in tonight on our call. Gratitude to your family, Brother Marvin Edwards Bay, all of our family that checked in again, giving that roll call. Want to give honors to my brothers and sisters that checked into this demonstration. Y'all keep coming back. Brother Volta, our family Divinely Black, family Body Bay, you already know, Capricorn Magi, Noble Brian, Marquise Atik, Marquise L, Charles Royale, Divine Angel Wisdom. I give honors to your Aki Kaba. We're going to let our people know, our people here, our brother Lewis Potter Bay, we give honors to you. Right on point, Blackman, and our family got a lot of letters there going into the Most High, removing all the vowels. We give honors to your family and sacred infinite energy empress. Want to give honors to you, goddess, all of you family, and well, we're going to take our Moorish kin out again with another grand Moorish vibration. And we're going to see if we can tune in this special track here in this demonstration, mashallah, and take this demonstration out with some good Moorish vibes as we always do. So till the next time, family, y'all tune in, protect your energy, stay in the higher self, and don't let nothing breach, in any particular place, to take one off the course. Let's see if we can get in here real quick, see if we can get something going on here. We in the house, y'all. Our Grand Mufti.
More fights up in this biz. Love, truth, be freedom, justice. More are who we is. More is how we live. More bites, what we give. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. More bites, Herodites, and Canaanites. More's alright, yeah. More's a fight for the love that we giving. For the truth that's within them. For the peace that comes with the wisdom. Freedom come from the justice we live in. Too many Moors in prison, too many more in division. Keep the faithful Moors off their mission. What's that, Mo? You know. Uplifting, I left it blank for a reason. The prophet said if I could only get you more to thinking, you save yourself and change the thing until the change is felt. And rely upon nobody else. You got your own path, 360 degrees, do your own math. For man knows not by being told. Another key, another lie path unfold. Mo, keep 12, 13, 14, 16, keep 20. Don't ever keep it missing. Today, you are you. As true and true. There is no one alive who is truer than you. More are who we is. More is how we live. More fights up in this biz. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. More are who we is. More is how we live. More fights, what we give. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. We got them hills and them bays and they industrious ways. For real, still sharp as steel, but we don't carry no blades. I'm right in the middle of fearless today. We don't play, reflex is the business of man. You know what the punk sway. You don't get mad at the mirror. Silence your mind, we can hear you. That's the mind of the A, the chatter. Hold up, it's up, we miss it. Got it poppin', ain't no stopping. It's down my head and they coughing. Master grip, got it locked in. Raise up out of that muck and more. Tell them about who they are. 3 flips go 2 more bars. Earth, mind, and dust to star. Wisdom will love them more. High power signal though. Prices the bag I roll. Earn the name of faithful. Who we is. More is how we live. More life up in this biz. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. More who we is. More is how we live. More life, what we give. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. Real more, break it down. What I'm on, break it down. Break it down, break it down. Voice is love. We is and how we live. And what we give justice.
Islam, more America. Peace and love, family. Gratitude to you. And we just encourage our family to stay on the front line, protect your energy and protect your people. We are a nation, family. And we expect all of you to bring your talents here. Let's build together. Let's heal our people together. If not us, then who? You know, it's time for us to demonstrate self-determination where we determine within ourselves we be a nation. Peace and love. Islam. Brother Marvin Evans Bay, I see you still there. You have anything you want to say before we go out, General? I think our brother's still there. All right. Well, peace and love. Maybe his apparatus is there, but he's not there. So peace and love, family.